city that, you know, I mean, they would start to pay toward this stormwater fee when they're not serviced by a stormwater system.
So what it would do is it would bring up your existing deficiency, the gap in your existing deficiency, so that you can fairly say to the new developer coming in, yeah, we might not have those facilities that we're requiring you to put in,
Right.
but we're going to collect money over time from everybody in the city to bring our existing deficiencies up to where they should be. And that allows us then to collect an impact fee for things that we don't have right now, because we don't really have a system in place. So we're kind of creating a system.
So you're saying eventually we'd want a stormwater system throughout the city.
Right. Yeah. Or connecting everything up.
I'd like to see a study first.
And it doesn't have to be a sophisticated system. I mean, we can still use the ditches and things that we have, but
Lance has he could help with that study. He knows,
yeah.
our engineer knows too. It's like if we just had an outflow line right here,
That's gonna take some doing.
like there's a couple of really big projects that would alleviate all kinds of flood potential, so.
I think Jones and Associates did that years ago. I really do, because I remember the
It would
figure.
Probably need to be
Pretty
updated,
big.
probably need to be updated, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So
Thanks, Mayor.
I just want to throw in the comment that maybe the cost of living increase for the office help might need to be a little bit more when the phone's ringing about
Yeah.
this new line item on utilities.
Right, right.
We'll get through the blue cans first.
That cool.
That cool down.
You still getting heat for that? Anyway, in your meeting.
Actually, I've talked to people that have been
Yeah,
fairly pleased with it.
Trying to figure out when you get it picked up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's adjourn this meeting. Thanks for the training.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good.
I do have some training anytime you guys want me to.
We're still
Yeah.
going into the next meeting. We're staying here.
What is our next one? Is it RDA or is it?
The
MBA.
We staying here, or going there for the MBA.
How about we
It's up
just,
to you, Mayor.
how about we just stay?
Let's just sit here.
Yeah, stay right here. We'll move up for the regular council meeting. Okay.
Fair enough.
Wait, there's a code section that says you have to move up. to Just kidding.
This
Oh,
mandates, you gotta move.
You gotta sit on the.
would see that.
Are we good, Janet?
It's like in a courtroom, the council must be, the council must be a foot above the rest of.
That's right. And the judge at least 5 feet above. So
Yeah, that's funny.
We'd like to
They have stipulations like that for judges. You gotta sit there.
Oh, that's
welcome everybody that's here. I don't think we have anybody online that I can see to our Municipal Building Authority of Morgan City, June 24th, 2025, and 6:19 instead of 6:15. So we're moving along pretty good. Whoops.
Spoke too soon.
I would entertain a motion to approve the meeting's agenda.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric, second from Tony. All in favor? Okay, if we go to item 2, the consent agenda, Municipal Building Authority meeting minutes was May 13th, 2025. Has anybody read through that?
Better question, can anybody remember?
Yeah, I actually read through it, and when I was reading it, I started to remember.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't much to it, so.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Morgan City Municipal Building Agency on May the 13th, 2025.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, a motion from Tony to approve the May 13th Municipal Building Authority meeting minutes, and a second from Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let's move to item 3. We need a motion to open.
So moved.
We need a second on that.
I'll second that.
This is
Talking about
public
public
hearing,
hearing?
public hearing, sorry, I didn't mention that.
Both A and B.
We're having a public hearing in our work meeting.
This
Oh, is it-
this is the meeting.
Okay.
The MBA meeting.
Yep.
Yes, they did.
Oh, did we vote?
Not yet. Aye.
Aye. And you're including both items A and B?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't hear any
Any public? huh?
public. Nobody online, correct, Janet?
Did we go out of our work meeting into the public?
We just did.
We
just
took
did.
care of that? Okay, okay, I'll wake up now.
Okay, I'll take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second,
Second, okay.
Seconded by Tony.
I caught up with you on the second.
Dave made the motion, Tony second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, let's move to item 4, our active agenda. Item A is review action, open and amend the Municipal Building Authority of Morgan 2025 fiscal year. Budget Resolution M 25-12. So do I have a motion to open?
Well, we
We
can
don't need
discuss,
to-
maybe to have Ty give us a brief introduction.
Yeah, so not a lot's changed. A lot has changed in the municipal budget, so it's just the amended budget's just reflecting kind of a true up on what we actually collected, and it went up a little bit mostly because of the revenue, not so much as the expenses. So the expenses are still under budget.
So you said that it went up?
The amended budget. Yeah, so the original budget was 225,000, and then the amended budget brings it up to 244,000.
Any discussion or?
And I guess just a reminder what the Municipal Building Authority does, it owns all of our facilities. The departments all pay their proportionate share on shop and office space on how much they use. We have a couple of external partners, Weber Health and Human Services and Weber Morgan Health Department. And the county Historic Society leases the train depot, and the other two are in our basement. And we use that to maintain our building, so we act as a landlord basically, and that's how that works. It's been working well. It has a fund balance. It's a healthy fund, and so don't mind letting it build.
Yeah, no kidding.
Build over time, in case we have a significant, like need to redo a roof or something like that.
So if my memory serves me well, we had so many years on the train depot
Mhm.
and so many years in the basement. And they renew or?
Yeah, it's just on the automatic renewal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Seems like we had a,
we don't have a year commitment from the health department. The years that you're remembering from the train depot is that we got a grant for $90,000 to pay their rent for the first 5 years.
okay.
So their rent's currently covered. We've already made that transfer. But the health department's just, we received a grant to build the space, so it didn't cost us anything to make the improvements to the building, but there wasn't a time commitment on how long they need to be there, so.
Okay.
Ty, this resolution is M 25-12. Have we passed 11 other resolutions so far this year?
So all the resolutions are still numbered. It's just that we add M in front of the municipal building ones and RDA in front of the R.
But the number is
It's-
consecutive depending,
Yeah.
throughout the city.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still like our 12th resolution. It just happens to be a
Okay.
M, whatever it says.
Yeah, the building authority.
Tony?
Mayor, you ready for a motion?
Sure.
Mayor, I will make the motion that we adopt resolution M 25-12. A resolution opening and amending the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget for the Morgan City Municipal Building Authority.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony. And a second from, we'll go with Jeffrey. All in favor?
Aye.
Or wait, should this be an
Go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
It is
A? Money.
dealing specifically with money.
Okay,
So
Jeffrey.
Aye.
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Item B. What's that?
thanks for catching that.
Oh. Item B, adopting final budget for the Municipal Building Authority of Morgan for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026. Resolution M 2513. Aye.
Any more to add, Ty, to
Mm,
that?
Nope, pretty flat.
Very straightforward.
Okay,
I'd make a motion, Mayor, to accept resolution M 25-13, adopting the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026 for the Morgan City Municipal Building Authority.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
okay, we have a motion from Dave on resolution M 25-13 and a second from Jeffrey. Eric?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Jeffrey?
Aye.
Tony?
I should have. I should have. It would have been funny, but.
I did
Okay.
that once.
Janet, that was unanimous. Did you catch that? See, we're moving along good. We're right on schedule now.
It's a progress.
Okay, I'd like to welcome to our redevelopment agency of Morgan City, June 24th, 2025. And I will entertain a motion for the approval of the meeting's agenda.
So moved.
Let's see, I've got a mark here, and Ty, where did I put that note? I think it's on another page.
That's for the city council,
Okay,
where we're gonna amend the agenda.
yeah,
Yeah, that's city
Okay.
council.
thank you. It was more than 5 minutes ago, so I forgot. Okay, let's move on to the approval of the meeting's agenda.
I did that.
And I seconded it, so we're all ready for a vote.
Okay,
So we can-
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, Janet, that's unanimous. Let's go to item 2, or number 2, item A. The redevelopment agency of Morgan minutes, the meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025. Is there any changes, discussion? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I've read the minutes and would move to approve the redevelopment agency of Morgan City meeting minutes of May 13th, 2025.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion from Dave, a second from Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
So moved.
Second. For the public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric, second from Jeffrey. All in favor?
Aye.
How good he's doing now. He's
Rolling.
Cruising.
spot on, or I just reading.
There's just no public.
Typical, huh?
Never is.
Yeah.
This is amazing. It really honestly is amazing.
They truly do put the motion, the movement, everything of the city into the hands of 5 people.
It's true. 6.
They ought to feel flattered they trust you. Huh?
Yeah,
Uh,
okay, well,
I will make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second that, Mayor.
motion from Tony to close the public hearing and a second from Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to item 4. Item A is review, action, open and amend the redevelopment 2025 fiscal year budget, resolution R 25-14. Ty,
The
did you
amended
hear
budget?
what we were looking,
Yeah, the amended budget,
what's that?
amended budget.
Amend and, yep,
2514.
Yeah, so the amended budget just contemplates that new plaza. So the alleyway and the plaza, just kind of, since we got pricing on that, nailed it down. They did get started, but we're not gonna have very many expenses in the amended budget year. So it's kind of a duplicate between the amended budget and the new budget for next year. Most of it's gonna end up falling in the new budget for next year.
so my curiosity is saying that we have to have it done by the end of the year
Yep.
on the
Yep.
grant?
Yep, so our grant requirements, December 31st.
The calendar year.
Yep.
To have it done,
Mhm.
completed, will
Mhm.
be done by then?
It'll be done, by October.
Wow.
They just started on it.
Looks good.
So the weeds are gone.
Yeah, it's cleaned up, looks good.
I drove by that today and thought of you, Tony.
Well, you did knock the weeds down in the one lot, but yeah, it does look better.
Yeah, so I don't have much more than that on the amended budget. What's been spent to this point mostly has been purchasing properties. But I will have more to say on the final budget.
Okay. That will include your discussion on the property, on the land purchases.
Yeah.
We need probably.
So, yeah, the amended budget includes what we paid. We paid 235,000 so far for properties for the land. The ones on most all of the ones on the agenda. So we have all those resolutions approving the land purchase agreements. Most of those have all been completed, other than one. One's in process, but it's been signed, and then we have one that hasn't been signed and is pending. But we can approve it tonight too, and that would be in next year's budget at this point.
Do we need to approve those though, before we approve the final budget, next year's budget?
No, you can approve the budget, because the budget includes the property and the project. And
Unless a land purchase wasn't approved.
then we would still come in under budget.
Okay, you just wouldn't spend the 10.
Yeah, we just wouldn't spend the last one's like 6,900,
Is that the ones pending?
the one pending, yeah.
30
But it's,
been done.
yeah, but
Okay, well, we can talk about that in just a minute.
it wouldn't prevent you from adopting next year's budget. If it doesn't go through, we just won't spend it.
Okay, Ty, may I ask you a question, Mayor?
Yes.
On the business loan grants, it's 4920, so
Mhm.
we amended the budget to 305.
Yep,
And now our original budget was 165. We amended it to 305. Now we're back to 150 on the final. What,
that was the hotel. So when we redid the hotel incentive, then we front loaded it. And if you remember, we restructured it into less years. So we did,
okay, That's right, okay.
Yeah, we did,
I'll get my memory.
basically, we did two payments up front, and then next year it goes back down to the normal annual payment. And then that'll go down after 2 years of that payment, and then it'll go down from there.
Okay.
I do remember that.
I remember it now too, so.
Yeah, I should have brought that up.
Any more discussion? There. Have a motion? Thank you.
I'm prepared here. Mayor, I will make a motion that we adopt resolution R 25-14, a resolution opening and amending the 2024-2025 fiscal year budget for the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency.
I'll second that motion, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony, a second from Eric. Jeffrey,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Dave. Aye. Eric.
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Let's move to item B. Adopting final budget for the redevelopment agency of Morgan for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending July 30, 2026. Resolution R 25-15. Ty?
So this one does have a little change. So we've spent all this work in the RDA, getting this project ready and buying properties and that sort of thing. And next year, the general fund will buy the properties from the RDA for the same dollar amount. So we're gonna take all of the individual properties, have them all combined into one large property. And then we've been using the RDA as the function for that, but the RDA doesn't need to own the land forever because it's set to expire in
3 years.
we don't know if it'll be renewed at this point or not. And so that increases the budget for next year, and that's where the transfer from general fund, so line item 39,100 includes 300,000 of additional revenue. And then,
So Ty, why wouldn't the city just buy the property now?
because we just started it as a RDA project. So
So
it's
you
in the
leave it-
redevelopment area, redevelopment agency.
You leave it in the RDA during the course of the project,
Mhm.
and when it's done.
Yep, then we'll package it, build it, all that, and then just transfer or we'll buy the property as the city for the same dollar amount that we paid. It'll just go from one fund into
It's one unit.
into the city and as one unit. So it more just because it's a project based. And in the general fund, there's really not a clean, you do it under parks, you do it under cemeteries, you do it under roads.
Have a specific.
Right.
for it.
Right, so yeah,
Well, your land purchases are can be done at different times, which they have.
they've been done all
Yeah.
over the map and negotiating and
Okay.
just using the RDA as a project area, really, so.
Do you ever prepare a balance sheet for the RDA that would show assets and liabilities that would include that for the moment? Versus an income statement?
Yeah, so that's part of our monthly financial statements,
Okay,
I think.
okay,
They-
it's in there, got you.
They usually just say no change in RDA. It's really, hasn't been printed out, but in the May one, hopefully you got that one. There's the RDA balance
Yeah,
sheet.
perfect. There they are, huh?
I guess,
And it's gonna be deficit, right? So the RDA is gonna be in deficit. We're spending ahead of future RDA money revenues. We're just not doing any other projects after this alleyway. And the hotel, so we're
For how long, Ty?
until the end of the life, so 2020,
I thought you've been in it my life.
28, no, 2028, it should all be caught back up, so. About 3 more years.
Yep.
now that we're into the RDA, when do you go present to the school and
So I've let
at the
them
end of the year or now?
anytime. So I let them know that we wait till the the RDA report is complete, and that's in the packet. So now we have the RDA report. It's been submitted to the state, which is due June 30th. We have all that, and then I just take that RDA report with me and I've let Kate and Andy know
That's
that I'm
coming.
ready when they are. So I'll just wait till I'm invited.
And you'll have some work to do and they've got new faces that
Yeah.
probably have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Because
but
we about lost it at one point, but then the school board, they got on board and they liked this better. And I'm just wondering if our new,
yeah, and
how your training has gone to
yeah, and
educate new commissioners and school board members.
Scott McMillan started, there was a little learning curve with him, but now that he understands it, it goes a lot.
Good, okay.
Because they have somebody on their side that understands the payout.
And Kate
I reckon.
gets it and is following it and she understands what it's all about at the county side. Okay.
Kate seems pretty savvy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going well.
Okay, good. Good.
And if they don't like it, we're just spend all the money. We'll wait till it
Wait, till
expires.
it expires and move on.
Something else.
You want that struck from the minutes, Ty?
I don't mind. Probably congratulate someone if they read the minutes from the RDA meeting. It'd be nice.
Yeah. Pretty top-notch city manager, huh?
Yeah.
Man, I must admit, I think we're much more efficient with our RDA.
Our RDA gets.
Than we have in
Yeah.
past years, so.
Mayor, the strategy is just to complicate out of everything, so it feels like job security.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. It was, yeah, I'm with Tony before we were. It was,
Nickel and diamond it, weren't we?
yeah, it was a mess, so. With all that being said, though. Aren't we on resolution 2515?
We are.
Yes.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution, R 25-15, a resolution adopting the 2025 through 2026 fiscal year budget beginning July 1, 2025 and ending July 30th, 2026 for the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric for resolution R 25-15 and a second from Dave.
Aye.
Dave? Aye. Jeffrey?
Aye.
Tony? Hey, Janet, that's unanimous. Item C, for some reason I have a mark there. We talked earlier, Ty, and,
It's the annual report that's included in the packet.
okay.
And so you just wrote right there. Yep.
Okay, what discussion do we have on this?
So like I just mentioned, I'll just introduce it if you want, Mayor.
Yes,
Just like I mentioned, it's an annual requirement. We use Zion's Public Finance to help us with the report, the requirement. They look at the marginal value and this year in the report, there was a decrease in value. So we had huge increases the last couple of years with the hotel and then McDonald's. And then this year, it's pretty well flat. It's less than a % decrease. But it is a small decrease in the property value. And so it's just kind of holding steady, but there was really nothing in the report that.
Are those values collected from just the assessor, are those an assessor statement?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And they may or may not be current for the moment, just whenever they change the assessment.
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
when they reassess, and then, so each individual property in the RDA gets evaluated, they belong to the RDA, and then it all gets combined, and that's where the value comes from.
I've got a little technical change on it.
Okay,
On page 5, not quite to the middle of the page. Since the last year of the tax increment post-extension, and remember it expired in 18 and then we added 10 years onto it to 2028. So that's 3 years from now.
Mhm.
But if you go to the next, or to page 8, it looks like. With the approval extension, there are 5 years remaining for the tax increment collection. Seems to me that would only be 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So maybe make that note, I guess.
Okay.
Not a big deal.
Yep. It helps though. If it comes up in another meeting, I'll be prepared to answer.
Yeah, if somebody says something, we noted it anyway.
Yep. Hopefully they got the math right, not the years. but-
Yeah. Looked like they did.
Yeah.
Do we
So
need to
we just
accept
adopt it? Yeah, there's
Okay.
not a resolution, but it's just an action item to adopt that basically acknowledges that you've seen it and reviewed it.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the RDA annual report.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric to adopt the RDA annual report. A second from Jeffrey. Eric.
Aye.
Dave.
I,
Tony. Aye. Jeffrey.
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Let's move to D, item D. Land purchase agreement. Commercial Street LLC R-16. Ty, you have been having a lot of fun with this. Thanks for your efforts.
And Gary's help. We keep doing land purchase agreements.
I was gonna say, we could probably do all of these at once if you wanted to do them all at once.
Oh,
Because they're all pretty much identical agreements.
with one exception.
And with one exception, you know where the areas are pretty much.
Yeah.
And so,
I brought this if there is any questions of where they land. These weren't, and this wasn't in the packet. But this is,
but what would the exception be? Is that something we'd have to do differently or?
we can still approve it.
yes, yeah, there's no problem with approving.
It just might not get it
Yeah.
signed by the other party.
All you're doing is giving Ty the authority to be able to move forward with an agreement, that's all, if he
Okay.
can make one, so. Well, but that may be an easier way of doing it because they are pretty similar in
yeah.
all for
Well, Sam,
one area. So
I like
that
that
sounds
too.
easier.
I'm sitting here thinking, we're gonna get really good at this.
Yeah. So,
Well, that makes
Eric,
life
make
much
your life
easier.
easier, sorry.
So
They're all just all separate agreements, so that's why we did separate resolutions.
got a couple of questions.
Okay.
This completes all of the land that needs to be purchased to move forward with the project.
Yep.
Oh, great. I mean, a year ago, there was a little bit of question, or at least I had some concern that maybe there'd be somebody holding out that would get in the way.
Yeah, so we have, so I'll just run through them real fast, if that's okay. So
Yes.
the commercial street is right next to Larry's Spring Chicken Inn. On the exit to the alley. The next Doug Buys Home is right next to that, so both of their properties create one stretch of the alley. Right there, the Arden Limited Partnership is the area in between the old bank building and the coffee shop for the walking path to go from Commercial Street back to the plaza. The Old First National one is the one that's not signed yet, and it's just a patio right behind the old bank building. Nobody parks on it. Currently, we own properties on both sides of it, so it'll just, if it doesn't, that's the one that is pending, but if it doesn't get approved, we'll just have a little piece of patio that sticks out into the plaza of somebody else's property, so they could fence it in if they wanted.
Pending, but it's likely to happen.
That
It's
one's-
likely to sell.
That one's in question, so,
It's still in question.
yeah.
So you're saying if the seller doesn't sell, then this is an alternative.
Yeah, the seller's worried about parking, like getting a parking stall. So we just haven't worked through that yet, but,
Okay.
but as far as the project, we don't need the property to complete the project. It's just a matter of, if, we'll figure that out from
Yeah.
Gary's side,
Okay,
if we owe him anything or not.
okay, keep going.
And then the Vallis is just a really tiny sliver of property on the backside of the Vallis, to get the additional width, for the plaza right behind the coffee shop. So I can,
Well, just as a
Sure.
reference, what properties have we bought heretofore? Bought some from Doug, right?
yeah, yep, mostly all from Doug. So the Doug and the hotel. And we approved those ones already. The already had approved those before we did the purchase on those ones. Cause that was the ones that we paid more than $10 for.
Mhm. Yeah, one was 30 something.
Yeah,
Oh, no. you're talking
200
about
and,
Doug's.
yeah.
Gotcha.
So those are all the properties.
So that brings up, I've got two questions. That brings up the first one though. These properties are purchased at the same rate or price that Doug's were purchased at?
So if it's just a direct benefit, it's been $10.
We got that.
So like Commercial Street was $10. Cause they're just gonna get parking out of the deal. The area between Old Bank Building and the coffee shop, we just offered $16 a
Okay,
square foot. Doug's was $16.53
okay.
a square foot, so
Yeah, and I remember
pretty close.
when Doug was doing his, we talked about it. That's the $16 square foot equals what, $800,000 an acre or something, or 600, I don't remember
Yeah,
exactly what it was. And remind me how we came up with that number.
we just had it appraised. We just went off the appraised value.
The appraisal came back with those higher values.
Mhm.
Okay,
And then-
We have to have an appraisal when we buy property?
You can actually use an existing appraisal that you have on similar property if you choose to do that, but yes, you have to come up with a fair market value. And the best way to do that is by appraisals.
yeah, I get 696, 960 an acre. I got some land I need to sell.
Well, that's very similar to the valuation of the properties we're buying from UDOT.
Is it?
Mhm.
Holy smokes.
And and it's not even in the commercial district. So that appraised at 720,000 and it was at 1.68 acres.
Huh.
And there's no road or any infrastructure or anything. So
Well,
that's why it costs so much to build a house.
Unfortunately, that's probably about right.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I'm just old school.
Save your back, sell your backyard, Dave.
Yeah, I got
I'll
a,
make you ADU, Dave.
yeah, I got a half acre.
So I have a kind of a point of order here, if I may, Melanie.
Yeah.
So if we adopt this resolution approving these land purchase agreements, was you saying that we don't necessarily need to go through each one of them individually, or we could just,
Them all at once.
we could just
Do
do
them
this
all at
one-
once. Yeah.
just with this one resolution?
Well, each one has a
One motion.
resolution.
They all have a different number.
Yeah.
They all have a different
So
number,
you-
but
You'll just motion with all of them included in one
Right.
motion.
so the mayor would say,
I'll tell you
you
what,
have approval of resolution.
I'll try to make a stab at this then.
I've got one more question.
Okay, before I do.
Gary, on the, I think on all but on one resolution, it make the, one of the whereas is the parties have determined to have the agency purchase certain properties to install improvements as provided in the agreement. I don't remember I didn't see any improvements in the agreement.
So I think we refer to an exhibit A. In there.
Um, Yeah, I didn't.
Oh, no.
The only exhibit seemed to have the legal description that was provided to us.
And there,
So if I can.
Okay,
Just
sorry.
in the agreement, there's a paragraph that says in the purchase that the city agrees to make improvements such as sidewalk, curb gutter,
within
Uh,
I don't
public
remember it
improvement.
being that strongly worded. It was, the city maybe wants to, but it wasn't as strong as the city agrees to.
Oh,
Let's-
in which agreement?
Any of them, I mean, they're all the same. Yeah, yeah, do you have,
You have one.
yeah, I don't. I just,
Here, I'll look one up real
yeah,
fast.
just looked one up. I just,
It doesn't identify specifically what improvements are going to be made. It's generally. you know,
okay.
Yeah, like, not everybody's gonna get curb and gutter on their property.
Right.
I mean, that
It just says public.
seems a little bit specific to me, to install improvements as provided in the agreement, but if we're okay, we're okay. And I didn't copy the agreement.
Oh, I was looking for the agreement.
Yeah.
I could look that up.
Yeah, or I could too here.
There is a paragraph in the agreement that, yes, you're right, it's not very specific.
Mhm. It just says the city wants to do curbs, sidewalks and so
Right.
forth, but
And that would be the
didn't really
same.
say they agreed to it or were bound by it. I guess, that begs another question. If the city all of a sudden didn't do any of it, have they broken their agreement?
Then the developer would come back and say, you haven't created any curb gutter sidewalk.
So-
Well, the
and that-
developer, we're the
Or
developer.
not the developer, but the seller.
Well, there was one that was more specific, that was unique, that said, if you don't do that, I want my property back and I'll pay you the money. But all of the others didn't have that in it.
Right.
The $30,000 one said, if you don't do these things, I get my property back. I can't remember which one that was, Ty,
That was the
Yeah,
one we paid.
There was a reason for that, I think.
because that's what he demanded.
Here's one,
Yeah.
here's one, and then, it just says under special provisions, the city agrees to improve the property with public uses, including public parking, right of way for curb, gutter, sidewalk, roadway, and utilities and other similar uses, and to tie in such uses to other existing improvements as necessary. So it's just kind of
And that provision is in all
Right.
of them, right?
that's what it refers to. That we just agreed to do public improvements with it.
What section was that?
Yeah, where are you seeing that? What number was it, Ty?
That was 10.
10? Well, there we go. Okay, city agrees.
Sorry, I didn't have it in front of me.
No, I think that answers the question. The city agrees to improve the property.
What we're using the property
Yeah.
for. Yeah.
But then again, back to the second question, if the city didn't do that, what happens?
Then they would come
The
back.
contract is broken, right?
Right, and they would probably
Asked
sue us
to-
for whatever the value
Yeah,
was of
asked
that.
to-
or-
for the $10. They,
Right.
yeah, they'd ask to have the contract undone, which to make them whole, would end up giving them the property back, I suppose.
Right, there's no specific performance under it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
it would just be damages, money damages,
Okay.
for the time that we owned it, and then they would take the property back.
Yeah, because that's a good point. If for whatever reason it doesn't come together and they're expecting parking, sidewalk, gutter, and, oh, I've got a patch of weeds back there. I want my property back.
But the reason we wanted to be as flexible as we could for the city, because at the time that we did a lot of these, we didn't have the exact design of everything.
Mhm.
We knew approximately where everything would go.
Yeah.
And so,
We couldn't say you get 10 feet of sidewalk.
right, you get 10 feet of sidewalk or so many parking
Yeah.
spaces so that was the reason we tried to be general, is to allow the city that flexibility. But I remember the one that we negotiated with 30,000,
Yeah.
there was something specific about that.
Yeah, and I think he was probably just on top of it and said, yeah, if this doesn't happen, I'd like
Yeah,
to
we
get my
remember,
property back. I'll pay you back. There was half a dozen different conditions that
right.
said,
So,
I'll,
But does that,
yeah, no,
Is that
that'll,
okay?
let's move on. That answers it.
Very good discussions, everybody.
Ready?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion to approve the following land purchase agreements. Commercial Street LLC R 25-16. Doug Buys Homes R 25-17. Arden Limited Partnership R 25-18. Old First National Bank Building LLC R 25-19 and Vallis Leasing LLC Resolution R 25-20.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Great, Eric.
Well, since I made the motion, yeah, aye.
Choose who you want to second.
Oh, who? I don't
No,
care,
let me-
Dave,
let me
sorry.
Say that Eric made the motion,
Jeff seconded.
Jeffrey seconded it.
I think we all seconded it.
I thought he's asking for my vote.
So Jeffrey,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Okay, that is unanimous.
I'd like to comment, that was a wonderful motion, Eric.
Okay, this meeting's adjourned.
Seven.
Does anybody need a little bit of a break before we start?
Yeah. Kind of a question is that?
That would be nice.
Now we'll move
There you go. Now you can move up to your.
to the king.
If the code allows us.
It allows you to move up.
Have to go to the bathroom. No provision.
There's no provision for that. I'm sorry, Dee.
To the king, Noah.
To the,
Yeah, yeah.
the rampart.
Right, yeah.
You're on my, I was asked by somebody this week.
Yes.
If,
Is that not
he looks better today than the other day when everybody was beating up on him.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. No, why that? I mean, you can exactly. Yeah. Once you're one of the early ones, stay on stock of it. You know what I mean? They kept your.
But
you kept all this. Yeah, you.
I remember.
Yes, that's it. You do it.
How are you doing?
So were you doing big all over you for sing mats and our motions I was. When I first started, what is that? I first started with person, he sits down to eat lunch, he has 2 bags, and he should come in. And he ate whole bag of another, so he knows how to get to lunch. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me, man? Like, yeah, I'm like, I thought those would last you like all day. Like, I love today. I'm a candy guy, but I guess can't eat whole bag of fruit doesn't matter. It's like, I at least enjoy it.
Who says?
Matt Stewart. Got a little gummy worms still. I'm done.
Everybody comes up with this yogurt and then I'm like a. Protein bar, protein bar like that.
How's your boy doing?
No.
Good.
You can almost eat that. That's fair.
Yeah, no, I will say this. Yeah, he got 2 of them. Yeah, like he actually has nice skill.
Yeah.
Art's good. I think so. The other, you can't. Which I'm doing at mine, I'll have this. All I see. Cause but then I was like, it's all nice to brush off, they're always best to get in. Well, now we're too late. You get you here, you go past it, you know. Well, it's not. I went out for a good find. Haven't been any else in there, I don't know. Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. Oh. California. But you don't have this split on your body. Never do. Gone. Wow, that's doesn't look like you had it. Well, we've been home now. Oh, maybe had.
There you go.
Maybe the thinner air.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't, yeah, you're never.
Can't wait to see him.
Good, looks good. Oh, you're out.
Be a fun meeting. Guess I forgot my phone all day. Might need that, huh?
Yeah, you need that.
Your seat thing.
I should have got hold of it. Grab clean one. There it is.
And 2508 or
Oh, everything was somebody brought something in.
you know what? It's like this. You have a bunch of them around it. You start looking same.
Well, this is for you. Bueno's good. Every like. But you know. I've never had one, but they say it's good. It is, Steve. It's good.
It is the best thing ever. Thank you.
Here we go.
It is, you know.
I got the treats out, like, sorry, I got one in my office tomorrow. So today, no, for next time.
I have my bueno.
Okay, I know, those are my favorite.
I've never had one,
Oh, they're so good.
but I've had.
They're German can. So, yeah. And then there's caramels, lots of caramels.
Got some.
They're the best caramels, all the.
Oh, wait.
They're Werther's, yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. the Werther's
My
are the
first
best.
time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Did you get some?
No.
He's eating it out.
Those are the best. Caramel are the best.
Yell out.
I ate caramel brownies last night. It was caramel brownies?
You made these?
No, brownies. I melted them over the brownies. Brownies. No. And they're really soft.
Thank you.
Well, actually, I'm doing okay. Jeffrey, once again, are you?
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I have snap ceremony. Out. Sure. We'll sit over here. It's you, only. You'll need us with all recording directly. Over here.
Okay. We'd like to welcome everybody to our. I was wondering if we need to wait.
She's hit lower,
I better ask. On pause for just a minute.
No. Going.
Hey, I'll just make a motion to approve all those. Let's go. I'm on to something, Gary. Yeah. I can make this meeting in
Be out of here.
10 minutes. Right?
Like that.
Proud of you.
Just roll through all that right there and we'll
Go home.
go home.
Yeah.
Although with that public hearing though, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Can we?
You can open the public hearing and leave it open you don't have to open and then close it after.
Yeah, that would make, that's what I was asking. It's kind of,
Just open a public hearing?
Just open the public hearing. We can do close the public hearing at the end of.
the meeting.
Maybe-
Okay,
Yeah, list each
Well,
one.
at the end of the public hearings. The last item is the adoption of the final budget. And so as soon as you discuss that, you can close the public hearing.
oh, okay. So we can't do it like I did.
Somebody needed to open it on A, B, C. Thank you.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah.
I got you. I'm sitting there, wait a minute here. We could do this, can't we? So we can. There you go.
Janet, we good? Okay, welcome to our city council. June 24th, 2025. I've asked Jeffrey if he would give us the pledge and Eric, if he would give us our opening ceremony.
Everybody, please rise. We repeat the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before thee at this time. We're grateful that we can meet as a city council to discuss the affairs of the city. We're thankful for this wonderful land that we live in, for this country, that we have the freedoms that we do, that we can assemble and discuss the needs and the interests of our citizens here. Please be with us. Bless us in our decisions tonight, that we can be prudent with what we're doing. And we're grateful for the opportunity that we have to serve and to be able to help those in our city. And we say, sing in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. On item C, the approval of the meeting's agenda tonight, we need to amend and add a presentation of a new employee. So with that, if we could have, let's see, would I need to list everything?
Here,
Okay, you ready?
yeah. Make the motion that we approve the meeting agenda tonight with the addition that you just noted.
Second, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony, a second from,
Forgot to turn my mic on.
did you hear that, Janet? Okay. A second from Eric to approve the meeting's agendas with the amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that is unanimous. So we aren't going to make you wait till the end of this whole meeting. So we would like you to introduce yourself, or Clark introduce you.
Maybe I'll just go ahead and kind of introduce him, and then we have a nice little shot here, right?
Yeah.
So this is Mitchell Anderson. Fresh out of Slick, Salt Lake Community College they've got a lineman program down there.
And he's first in his class to be hired, right?
Yep.
Snack. To come to Morgan. So first off, we appreciate Mayor, you and the council and Ty for supporting us. We needed another guy and apprentice is a great way to go. It's a great program that is supported by our group, the IPSA group, and also through Slick. They're training these guys and getting them ready for the jobs that we're trying to do. So maybe let's go ahead and have, would you like to have Mitchell tell him about himself or just do the shot? He's kind of a celebrity down there, Slick, so maybe we'll have him tell you all about him and what brought him here and they can have any questions and maybe go ahead and show him that little clip. So have at him.
My name's Mitchell from Spanish Fork, Utah. I was in the Marine Corps for a while. I ran cranes and got out of the Marine Corps, ran the cranes. Wasn't really for me. I had a couple buddies doing the lineman stuff, told me all about it. So I thought maybe I'll give it a try. So I went to Slick and Morgan City had a job opening. I applied. It's a nice little small town. Spanish Fork getting too big. So I enjoy it up here. It's really nice. That's me.
So he's a first year apprentice, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah, so they come out, they have, what do you have, about 1,040 hours? Oh, let's see, you got 6 months. So you get about 1,040 hours training, right?
Yep.
They get like a half year's training that can be credited towards that. We do a 4-year apprentice, 7,800 hours, roughly 8,000 hours.
So
They go through the pre-apprentice program.
community college training then shortens the journeyman experience.
No, that program is a pre-apprentice.
Yes, it's
And then we, as employers, we generally require that. We want someone who has climbed a 60-foot pole and decided that's what they want to do, rather than coming to work and climbing a 60-foot, well, we don't have a 60-footer, but anyway, being afraid of heights, just as example, something like that, so.
Do you live here?
I do. I got an apartment just down the road from here. About a minute away.
Good.
Welcome to Morgan City, Mitchell. Yeah,
Very good.
glad to have you on board.
So,
So I was gonna ask, so in this,
do you want to tell us about this video we're about to watch?
We have a question for you.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
I met you in the hall when you were getting abused by all, your workmates. And you fit in good. You held your own. I'm proud of you. But I can't remember are you married?
I'm not.
Oh, great. We might have some recommendations. Okay.
I'll take what I can get.
Be careful.
Okay, we'll,
So were you a Don?
I was.
Yeah, you're a Spanish Fort Don. Huh. All right.
There you go. There you go. So go ahead, tell us a little bit about this, what was going on and give you the background.
We had our graduation and it's kind of like a small little competition on speed, climbing the poles and doing certain things on the poles, but my teacher recommended me to interview for the news. So now I'm on the news.
So we hired a star.
There you go, got a celebrity.
Fast and reliable solution. Business can help turn your business into a reliably up and running, cyber securing, performance boosting, storm preparing, reliably connected modern business. Powering the engine of modern business, powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started for $59.99 a month for 12 months. Plus, ask how to get a $500 prepaid card on a qualifying gig package. Call today.
There are college and high school graduation ceremonies going on all across Utah this week. I'm Fox 13 Scott McCain and Sandy, taking you to a somewhat different graduation ceremony here, where those who have graduated from the Salt Lake Community College lineman course They're climbing power poles like this. Now that they've graduated, they'll be climbing those poles, helping ensure that your power stays on. This is what graduation day looks like for those matriculating from the Salt Lake Community College Energy, Utility, and Licensing Program. That's the official name for those who will now be power pole linemen.
These guys serve an essential function in the community. They work to make sure that we have power. And power is the one thing that drives our society. So without them, we'd be at a loss.
Graduates like Mitch Anderson, who was looking for a new challenge after leaving the Marine Corps.
Even if you're not scared of heights, there's a little bit of fear. You'll get up to the top on a bare pole. There's nothing on it, no wires, nothing. Those things start swaying back and forth up there. You get a little worried, but it goes away pretty quickly usually.
An unreal opportunity to be able to be here, being the youngest kid here. It's been fun.
Caden Neal is a recent high school grad who decided to fast track his career while he was still a teenager.
A very random decision that I had one day. I was sitting in class and I was like, you know, this desk work ain't for me. I want to do something fun. And then I started looking around and I found this and here I am.
It's physically challenging and dealing with electricity can be dangerous. That's where the course instructors come in.
So we teach them the basic safety and the basics of what it works, how it works. And then we teach them how to do it fast so they can get your power on fast.
Following this graduation ceremony and friendly competition, most of these graduates will now begin about a 4-year apprenticeship at municipalities and cities all across the state of Utah, again, helping ensure that your power stays on. In Sandy, Scott McCain, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Mine.
So Clark, a steel pole,
You turn this. Oh, what's that?
if it's a metal pole.
Good point.
Magnets.
Then we're relying on the trucks.
Okay.
Then you gotta have the trucks. They actually make kits for those. There was a period of time when metal poles were quite popular, versus wood poles because of the cost. And they actually had a system that allowed you to be able to install steps on them. But, they've kind of moved away from that. So hopefully now we're putting metal poles where we can get to them with the trucks, so. But,
And what's our tallest poles in the city?
here, probably the ones we've got crossing the freeway, they're about 65 footers. The one, right as we cross and we go over towards 700 East. That's probably our tallest one, isn't it? Those are our tallest, so. But now we have a truck that'll reach them. Before we didn't, so, but where these guys come in, where they're needed climbing, a lot of the backyard, you still got to access that way. And then it always helps to have that ability to be able to have these guys to shimmy up them. Takes a little more time, but in a lot of instances, that's your only option, so. We hang on to that training. Some of it's a little bit nostalgic, but they still have to be able to do that, because inevitably you're going to have poles, you're never gonna get everything underground, but the skills and stuff they learn makes it so they do it safe.
Okay, well, welcome to the wonderful city of Morgan.
Thank you.
You like the name Mitch or Mitchell?
Whatever you wanna call me.
What do you prefer?
Mitchell.
Mitchell, okay.
You must have been a good kid, because my first name's Stephen, but I only heard that when I was in trouble.
Get your full name.
Would your mother call you?
Secret.
What my mom calls me?
Yeah, what'd your mom call
Just
you?
when I was in trouble. Stephen. Other than that, it's just
There
Steve.
you go.
Hey, Mayor. Hey, I just want to thank, while we're here in the meeting on record, all of our employees and what they do. We had a little incident down by my house Friday night when the It was blowing like 60 miles an hour. It was crazy there for a minute, but I did notice our guys there with the power quickly taking care of things and appreciate them and all they do. And I think sometimes they go unrecognized. So I want to do that here in this meeting to recognize them and all their efforts, and even Kel with all they do. Cause again, I always say this in the classes that I teach. Oftentimes these ones that deliver the utilities to us, a lot of our residents don't even think about how the power gets to them, how, you know, they flush the toilet. Don't even think a second thing about where it goes and what we have to do with it, and water and on and on. But again, I just wanted to recognize in this meeting our employees, all of them, for all the efforts and stuff that they do. So just know that we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Thanks for your willingness, and thank you, Clark.
Yeah, like, again, we appreciate you guys' support. It doesn't work unless we've got, you know, the support. We've got the improvements in equipment in both in the system and in the equipment that we're using, you know, out throughout the city. Also the training that we're able to get, and a lot of it is the competitiveness. I mean, wages are a big deal, just like you're saying, you know, for Mitchell to get here and be able to buy a home. Gonna be tough, you know, but Ty and you guys have done a great job in supporting us in that area too. Because like say, when the fire starts, the wind starts blowing, you need help. And he was right here to be able to, you know, respond right away. And so you get that solved just a little quicker, you know. So we appreciate it too.
Speaking of, where was that fire the other night?
So it's down in what we affectionately call Don's Sherwood Forest, down there by Kel's lift station.
You know, I thought it was down
Yeah,
by
about
the,
700
yeah,
west.
what was on fire?
Trees, the trees blow over in the line. We got a lot of overhead down there, and they had just a thick forest of poplars and cottonwoods. And in a lot of these windstorms, we cut and cut and cut, and they still keep blowing over. I mean, they're uprooting, you know, the wind was strong enough that,
Oh, it's crazy.
yeah, they fell into it. Of course, our protection, you know, our fuses and stuff blew. But there was one of them that hung on long enough that it ignited the tree, and then the tree finally fell, and then it just.
Looked like it was down that way somewhere.
Yeah, it was right behind Don's, so, and his little farm down by his mink farm in that area. That's where Kel's lift station is on that side too. Had us pretty concerned, so.
Nothing got damaged in our.
No.
We fixed a few lines, but.
Yeah, it generally drops our lines, you know, and we had some lines we had to put back up, but it didn't burn anything that couldn't survive, you know. And they asked that, you know, when the fire department got there, but they asked about structures, and it was able to tell them, I said, you know, keep that lift station fire free. And they did a good job. And then we was trying to get them, you know, to make sure our poles, extinguish our poles and stuff, so they didn't burn. And then the rest of it, it's like, let the rest of it burn. But they got it under control.
Pretty good fire there for.
Yeah, for a little while. It
I
was
thought, wow, that's pretty good fire right there.
plenty of fuel down there, isn't there?
How long did it take Clark to restore power?
We were,
Started at 1.
yeah, time the fire department cleared out, it was about midnight. We got going, it was about 3:30.
Is that right? Wow.
3:34. Yeah,
Well, thank you.
so.
And the wind had slowed down by that time though. Yes,
It was rather unusual. Right after the fire was extinguished,
Yeah, it stopped.
no more wind.
Yeah, well, it's Morgan.
So I have a question, Clark. Was my power off?
30.
Cause I've been waiting for this generator to kick in.
Sorry, we had 2 customers out on that one, so.
It's been almost 2 years.
Yeah.
We need to
Too
flip that
reliable.
switch. I gotta try it.
Mitchell can arrange that.
We'll go cut you on.
We'll let you do it individually there.
Your generator on KSL, Steve.
Okay, well, thank you again. We appreciate you being willing to join us, and I think you'll find this is a wonderful place.
Thank you.
And you you can either stay or you can go make Clark buy you a drink.
That's our invitation.
See you later. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Okay. I'll take a motion now to, where did I go?
Approve the agenda.
Approve.
I will make that
There you
motion.
go.
Making we approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. No, we haven't. We had.
Okay, that's unanimous. How about a motion to approve the minutes of the city council meeting June 10th?
I have a correction.
Okay.
The minutes of June 10th show me in attendance. I was excused. And it shows member Jeff Wardell excused. I don't know if he was.
Wasn't here.
Then there's another correction we need to make. Your motions are all approved with 4 ayes. There would have only been 3. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. If you could make those corrections. I move to approve the minutes of the city council meeting June 10th, 2025 and the warrants of 6/9/25 to 6/18/25.
I'll second that.
Those
Mayor.
corrections.
With the corrections. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I don't see any citizen comments. Nobody on board. Okay, have a motion to open public hearing.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we open public hearings for open amend the 2025 budgets, adoption of the 2025 municipal energy tax, adoption of the 2025 certified tax rate, amending 1.5 consolidated fee schedule, billing permits, and adopting the final budget for the Morgan City for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Eric, to open the public hearing on items A, B, C, D, and E. And a second from, Dave. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. I see no public input.
Now, you said keep this open until we get through so we'll just keep it open there.
Okay, that's right. See, it was 5 minutes ago. I can't remember that.
Yeah, we'll just keep her open for a while. Once Gary nods his head, then we'll close it.
So,
Okay.
so we're gonna discuss things on item A.
Yep.
Ty? Or Gary?
Well, that would go to Gil, right?
Just on the active agenda?
Well, we're on the public hearing,
Okay.
but we want
Just-
to leave that.
just
open
introduce
to
each
do
topic.
the active.
Just introduce each topic and go through them and then close them. Right, okay. Yeah, so item A is just open and amend the 2025 budget for the general fund, capital improvement fund, sanitation fund, water, power, sewer. The other ones were done in the RDA and the municipal building
We
Authority.
discussed
Mhm.
these
And we
in
just,
work meeting.
yep, we kind of went through them in the work meeting. Just the big item to note is we're appropriating fund balance in the 2025 budget to spend local option sales tax and BNC road funds towards the West Young Street project, and then making amendments just to true up the year on actuals in each of those budgets. Want me to just do go through them?
Yep.
So the adoption of the 2025 municipal energy tax, this is a option that local governments have. We're one of the few cities that haven't adopted it, but it's a up to 6% tax on gas and power. It's a stable source of revenue and lessens the burden on property tax. So one of the things about property taxes, it's viewed as really stable. If you have a recession, property taxes don't react as fast as sales tax, where sales tax can go up and down in a heartbeat. And so it's a stable source, similar to property tax, but it's a user tax. So in lieu of having a franchise tax, like for communications and other things like that, then you just get a percentage of whatever's used in gas and power. So that's municipal energy tax. How that relates to the budget is the new budget includes an estimate of 300,000 of new revenue, which would all be transferred to the capital improvement fund. We have $15 million of expenses. I think Dave brought that up when we went through the capital improvement project list and just in short-term priorities. So this is a way to really work towards getting those projects done.
Would that tax be diverted someplace else?
It's just general fund, so it's really flexible on what can be used for.
You're suggesting we earmark it for capital projects?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you look, it's hard to talk about one independent of the other, but if you look at next year's final budget, it's pretty similar to what was spent this past year, other than it goes up by 300,000, which is almost exactly the
Capital amount,
uh,
the tax.
the new tax, the new revenue tax,
Move
but
into capital.
we're not increasing spending in any significant way in any other area of the
Okay, good point to make.
of the budget. Then adoption of the certified tax rate. That's in the packet, but every year we decide whether to adopt the certified tax rate or choose something other than the certified tax rate, which would prompt a truth and taxation hearing in August. We've done that a couple years where we've done what's considered a tax increase, even though last year we adopted a rate less than the rate we had the year before. Like we did lower the rate from our previous rate.
But still an increase.
So it still counted as a
Tax
increase. And then this year on the certified tax rate, it was really close to what we did get new growth recognized in the certified tax rate, and it was only $20,000 less than I had projected in the next year's budget. So I adjusted the budget to fit the certified tax rate. So I'm comfortable making the recommendation to adopt the certified tax rate this year.
Hence, no tax increase.
No tax increase, no truth and taxation hearing is what is being recommended.
Okay, and that's part of the proposed budget as you've presented.
Yep, and that's part of the final budget. And then the consolidated fee schedule, just building permits, there's just one line item on our fee schedule. Right now, we only charge $100 for a basement remodel. So on a building permit, we've kept that really low for a long time, but it still takes, it still takes multiple inspections to, if someone finishes their basement. And so we're proposing to adjust that to $500 just to cover our actual expenses. One of the things we find is basement remodels are often done by the homeowner. And so it's good work, but
It's unreported.
well, a lot of times our inspector needs to really help them out on things that they didn't realize weren't up to code. So it takes multiple inspections.
How many do you issue a year?
I'm not sure on the basements. But there's a fair amount. Yeah, there's quite a few. And then the last item is the final budget for next year. And like I've mentioned, it basically goes up by the 300,000 that we're projecting if the Met tax is adopted.
Okay.
So all that said, during the active agenda, they're kind of ordered in a way that you wouldn't adopt the final budget until a decision's made on the energy tax and the certified tax rate. The fee schedule's listed, but it's not going to impact the budget. Hundreds of dollars don't really
Move the needle.
move the needle on the budget. And so, yeah, that's
The plan.
That's the plan. Since the tentative budget, I haven't received any, there's usually, after the tentative budget's posted, I'll usually get some feedback or questions from people. What about this? Residents that want explanations, and just, since we're in a public hearing, I haven't heard from anybody this year.
Okay.
On anything, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
You said?
We're good.
Need a motion to close?
Do we want to come out?
No, we want to wait till we're almost here to the end to close the public.
Oh, okay.
No, you can close it.
No, we can close it now.
Close it.
Start working on resolutions. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Then that's easy. Okay. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
And I'll second it.
Okay, we have a couple seconds, but we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Janet, that is unanimous. Let's move to,
Should that have, do we need to indicate that that was more than one, do we need to indicate it was public hearings for all of those, or was that fine with Eric? You said, just close the public hearing? Okay, all right.
Yeah, he identified each one to.
yeah, he identified it to open it.
Okay.
Okay, let's move to item 5. Active agenda is A, review the municipal wastewater planning program survey by our great Cal Watkins. We're at your mercy.
Nothing's really changed from last year. Turn green. Gotta get recorded.
Yeah, as I say, there's nothing different from last year on it, where you guys have helped us update everything. We haven't done any new updates, capital improvement plans and that haven't changed on it. Numbers are all running good, so we haven't had any major spillovers or backups, which are some of the major questions on there. We haven't had any on our side or the homeowner side, so.
So Kale, my report on the true and false and yes and no, it didn't have a response.
It does. It's just you gotta look a little closer. They're barely bolder. It's a Google Doc and it sucks, to be quite plain with you. If you look at it, you'll barely see it highlighted. Just, it's not even highlighted. The letters are slightly bolder.
So is it, for example, do you have a collection system?
Then they have.
It says yes, and then it says no. I don't see any check mark or any
That's not a check mark. They just make the letter slightly darker. It's,
Boy, I'm not seeing it darker. In fact, I see, no, I should go to the optometrist. I see no is darker than yes.
yeah, no, it's
In the actual document, though, it distinguishes.
barely. Like when I sat and hit them at first, I was hitting them over and over again, and then I noticed it was just slightly shading them. And when I get done, it'll tell me if there's nothing answered.
I don't remember that problem last year, so I will.
It's a brand new document. They changed it. It used to be, I can't remember who did it, but then they changed it to Google Docs and
Well, I'll take your statement then that it's the same as last year, and I know we were okay last year.
yeah, there was really no changes on anything. I mean, even mileage of pipe hasn't changed until just recently with the new subdivision going in, so.
Yeah. I do maybe just have a question while I'm sitting here. Anything you'd see in the future that we need to be aware of? I mean, it seems we're running good now.
We're running good now. I guess they did change our permit. So every 3 years, this year was up, which it's in public notice right now. But we'll get final approval in October. But the only thing they changed on it for us is, the chlorine the residual chlorine going into the Weber River. And we've never been close to the marks on it anyway.
Oh.
So like, that's the only change they made. I mean, and they went from like summertime right now, we used to be able to ride 5.26 parts per million, and they cut it back to 2.6, and we run it at a 0.4.
Oh.
So, I mean, in the winter, we do have to ride the line with it. Cause in the winter, obviously the flow of the river down, they tighten it up on us, but we're always good on our E. coli, so. That is the only change they are making to our permit. But unless they come in where they can change our permit every 3 years, unless they come in and hit us hard on it, or, even projected growth, like right now, if you look through that, I think we went up like 0.8% from last year of our capacity. And we're only using like 40% of our capacity. So.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, I hope like heck we don't double the amount of homes in this city, but according to numbers, we have the potential to do that. Unless a big industry came in or industrial waste came in.
I think you reported you added 57 residential permits. Is that, do you expect about the same this next year?
It depends it depends how much of these, I doubt it, because these homes aren't gonna be building in.
Some to it.
I doubt they'll be building those homes by the time snow flies, so.
Yeah. So you're not expecting a big change this year, maybe
No,
next year?
I think it'll be lower this year from the amount of inspections I've done. I think it'll be less, a few. You have a bunch one year and then we'll have half that many or less the next year and then we'll go up. Yes, sir.
So the question on what is the age of your lagoons? You have set 7 years. So I guess,
Oh,
I mean, obviously they've been down there a long.
so it says the age or from the last, how's that worded? Doesn't it say or update?
It just says, what is the age of your lagoons, including aeration? And
Aeration, so our aeration, it says that one's on our aeration.
what is the age of your lagoons, including aeration? 7.
7.
7. And I thought, oh, okay, so I mean, I was just,
Is that wrong? Cause it should only be 3.
okay, but it's not necessarily.
So it's not the age of lagoons, but then they say including aeration, we updated the aeration in 2022.
Okay,
So to me, I'm like, well, then how do I say, yeah, it's 1960 and then also 2022?
yeah, well,
So I
yeah,
didn't know.
okay, yeah, just a little.
I don't understand those questions
disconnected
either.
there,
Yeah.
Okay,
It's like, talk about muddying the water up. It's already.
that does
muddy.
say 7, so.
Okay.
Does yours look different?
So I guess my question's much like Eric's, no real big red flags.
No.
Get the gate figured out?
Yeah, it's actually been pretty peaceful lately. Jeff went and had a talk with Bruce the other day, so, and told Bruce that that they need to quit acting like children over the gate and knock it off. And Bruce said he didn't have any idea that his employees were doing that, so he'll have a talk with them, and it's actually been way better. So I don't know if Bruce just being confronted about it, he quit or what. So
Okay.
it's been
great.
actually really nice and
My
haven't
phone-
had any problems.
Yeah, my phone hasn't rang. That's awesome.
Yep.
It's way good.
Does this need a motion?
Yeah, it needs to be approved or adopted, yeah.
Mayor, I'd move that we adopt.
There we go. We got three of us going then.
All right, get her done. Go ahead, Tony. I'd move that we adopt the municipal wastewater planning program survey as presented by Kale.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the municipal wastewater planning program survey. 2025. Is that the year we're gonna put 2025?
Yep.
Okay. And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cal.
Thanks, Cal.
Welcome to
Have a
stay.
good evening.
Go eat dinner. Yeah, dinner's waiting. Good night.
Okay, let's move to item B, which is opening and amend the 2025 fiscal year budgets, resolution 25-09. Hi.
So, this is something we do every year at the end of the year. Our budget year ends, June 30th, so we're just amending the budget based off the actuals that we had during the year, compared to what was budgeted for in the beginning of the year. So this is a true up, if you want to call it that, on that. So I'll take any questions. We did go over it in a work session. So the main thing is just appropriating beginning fund balance to spend local option sales tax and BNC road funds towards the Young Street West project that we have going right now. So the big increases in the road department and on the expense side, and the revenue side is just appropriating the fund balance that we currently do have on hand from previous years. So it looks like a big budget increase, but really no increase in taxes or anything like that, just appropriating the beginning balance. And then making adjustments through the rest of the budget line items.
A lot of it related to timing.
Yep, and yeah, that's a good point. A lot of it, because our budget year is June 30th and July 1st, a lot of our projects are right in between. It could either happen in one budget year or the next, as you're working all summer trying to figure out how much we need to pay for in which year.
Yes, it may give the appearance of an increase or decrease when it's
Yep.
really not.
Yep.
Mayor, after our discussion and vetting this in our prior work meeting, I would make a motion that we adopt resolution 25-09. A resolution opening and amending the 2025 fiscal year budgets of Morgan City.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony to accept resolution 25-09, and I believe it was a second from Dave.
Okay.
Jeffrey,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Eric? Dave?
Aye.
Hey, Janet, that's unanimous. Let's go to item C, adoption of changes in the compensation for elective and statutory officers of Morgan City proposed for 2025 and 26 fiscal year, ordinance 25-07.
Mayor, you want me to
Yes.
take down? So there, one of the state requirements is that we, outside of the budget, specifically show the increases to salaries for the elected officials and the appointed officials in the city. And so that's in the packet where the only increase that we've proposed is a 2.5%. 2.5% cost of living increase, which is included in the final budget. And it's the same amount that all the employees are receiving this year. So the CPI was 3.1 this year. So it's less than the actual inflation, so. And then there's a chart just called Exhibit A that shows that.
Ty, the ordinance suggests or says we need to hold a separate public hearing. Has that happened?
We included it in the, don't know.
I don't remember seeing it.
There's a public notice, isn't there?
Yeah, we did public,
No,
Yeah, but no hearing.
had no hearing.
I don't see hearing, but
We would usually do that during the tentative budget, and we may not have done that. I don't recall that we did.
When you say it was noticed, Gary, is it just a matter of holding a hearing right now and satisfying that, or
You gotta have requirements.
what's?
hearing or just a notice?
Well, we need the hearing, but when you say a notice, the notice notifies of the public hearing. Has that been properly noticed, the public hearing? And that would have to be before you can have the public hearing.
And then we're also on a time, I don't think that I'm sure the time limit for that is before the new fiscal year.
For
Well,
the public hearing.
Yeah, exactly. So we might have to,
You can't move it back a month, the compensation resolution or ordinance.
is it? It's in the ordinance, which one?
2507. That is a good catch.
You could amend that, you could amend,
Eliminate the public hearing.
Well,
It
if
says
it's
the state
required.
requires it.
yeah, we'll just have to see if it's a,
But it'd have to be noticed
Yeah, one of
before
the
you can have the
whereases.
public hearing.
so it says, Gary, Utah Code 10-3-818. So we can maybe move on while Gary researches that.
Okay.
There's one way to handle that.
Yeah. All right,
That was a good catch,
there
Dave.
we go.
Very good.
Dave doesn't get his 2.5% until after this gets sorted out.
Heck, you're gonna scratch my name off of it. Dave gets an egg, right?
So are we needing a motion and a second?
No, we'll wait on that for Gary to tell us, give us some direction. So we can move on to the next item, Steve.
Okay, let's move to item D, adoption of the 2025 municipal energy tax ordinance 2508. Once again, discussed in the work meeting. Or any more discussion or Ty? We turn it to you.
Is that the municipal energy tax?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, this is an item included in the budget, and I'm proposing that we adopt a municipal energy tax. And that would be on natural gas and power, of 6%. And the revenue would be used, to transfer to the capital improvement fund to make progress on the capital improvement list that we've already adopted in a prior meeting. Just in the short term immediate projects, if you remember, we had 15 million of expenses. So it reduces the reliance on borrowing money, and interest rates have gone up. So just more fiscally sound. It's a pretty stable revenue source, as it's on power and electricity. And it reduces the dependence that we have on property tax
Or sales tax.
or sales tax.
Dependence on property tax.
Yeah, yeah, so,
Sales tax, yeah.
yeah, but the idea is that we could adopt the certified tax rate for the next couple of years and be just fine. Just relieving that pressure, because over the last couple of years, we've been really trying to hold the line on property tax, but just depending on what the certified tax rate comes in, I mean, we don't want to pedal backwards or anything crazy, but if it comes in at a reasonable amount, then we can rely more, we can make that decision every year, but we'll have another revenue source other than just property tax and sales tax, which is very variable. Volatile, yeah. And so, as I make the budget, that's one of the things that every year is a little bit of a concern, but if we have a recession, sales tax really shifts in a big way in the short term, so.
Ty, you mentioned earlier that the percent could be up to 6%. Do most cities adopt the full 6%?
Yeah.
Okay. And again, we're one of the few that do not.
Yeah, we're one of the few that haven't. So there's some that have done 5, but it probably just becomes a point of discussion.
Yeah, it's not material necessarily.
All the time. And so that's my proposal and recommendation. It's included in the next year's budget, but it's also nothing that's going to have an immediate impact. So, if it's not the time or whatnot, it doesn't bother me at all. It's simply just, working towards that capital improvement list at this point. It's not for operational, it's not for salaries, it's not for, better looking parks
Right.
or.
Yeah, just to have.
Yeah, exactly. So
I like the idea that it's done in a year where we're not raising the property tax. I think that's a good argument to say that we have held the line on the other. And then I have mentioned before over more than 1 year that like the idea there's a specific purpose for it, that we can earmark it to a project, and for anyone to say, what is that? Here's our priority. Those projects need to be done.
yeah, it's a good list. Not that it's super relevant, but the school district has also adopted the certified tax rate this year, so there will not be a tax increase from the school district, which is the largest taxing entity on the property tax.
County go through the same process.
They won't decide until the end of the year, but at least for this.
The end of the year is in weeks.
No, there's this calendar year.
Calendar year, okay.
Yeah, so they decide in September.
Gotcha.
And we did here in COG last year, they held the certified tax rate, and we're the only ones that didn't. Correct?
Yeah.
The school and the county held theirs, and we had a truth in taxation, and
Yeah.
we did hear about that in COG.
So it's almost like what we're saying is, I've thought about this a little bit the last week, we're basically saying that we'd almost rather generate revenue via a tax than we would fund ourselves more with property tax. I mean, I certainly get that and I feel good about that. I don't know, property tax, I think is one of the most hated taxes out there anyway, so.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what we're saying is,
It's,
and so, I mean, I would hope that we adopted the MET, the municipal entity tax. I would hope that in the future, we do kind of hold the line on our certified tax rate.
yeah. And it's kind of a hybrid, so it's like sales tax or use, it's a use tax. So it's, if you live in a small house and you're a single person, you know, you use less power and then if you're using a ton, then you pay more. So that's what's different about property taxes. You just pay regardless of who you are. It's just your house value and
Right.
and
Whether you can afford it or not.
yeah, and so it's kind of a hybrid. And then sales tax, of course, if you're not out buying a ton of stuff,
Buying
you're
new
not paying
cars, yeah.
a lot of sales tax. But
It's a user tax.
yeah, and the ones that have adopted it, they've had it for so long, and it just becomes part of the
Rate structure.
the bill that you don't even know how much is included or not included. So
To determine a value of, or an amount that you expect to budget, you just access the sum of everyone's expenditures of utility expenditures for the year.
yeah, so the gas company, they already collect taxes. So they just collect taxes on every monthly bill and then they remit to the state the portion that comes back to us. And that's another nice thing that's different than the sales tax is 100% of the tax comes back to us. Sales tax, you know, we only get a portion. We only get a portion of what's collected, yeah.
The net tax, 100%.
100% comes back to us.
Yeah, this will be 100% return to the city.
Right, yep, so it stays in the community.
That's good.
I mean, I looked at it from a personal perspective the other day and I looked at my gas bill and my power bill and 6%, it's gonna probably be about $10 more a month for me.
So 120 a year.
Yeah,
I mean, it might vary in the winter and
It's
stuff.
no, it'd be pretty close year round for me, so yeah, about 120 a year, so. For me.
So I'm sort of from the old school. My Democrat grandma that would say, well, they promised not to raise taxes, but they raised everything else. This sort of falls in that category, but I think the way Ty's explained it, I mean, you hate to put up fees, you hate to raise taxes, all of that, but
And I guess the only other comment, and just throwing this out there is, you know, there's what, $5.50 or $6 a month on the sanitation fee, you know, that's gonna go into effect, so. Yeah, so there's, you know, that's going to increase a bit, so.
Here's one thing to think about. As you sit here, I'm thinking the exact same thing you are, Mayor. Like, you hate to do this, right? But with that being said, I visited it was a small system, it was a small water system. And I think their water fees for the month was like $2. And they had a problem. and their tank ran dry and they had all kinds of problems. They had a problem with the pump and all this stuff. And when I asked them about it, I says, well, what's your fees? And they're like, well, we only charge like $2 a month. And I says, then you've done a disservice to your residents, the people on your system, because you haven't taken the money to keep up your system to actually provide the services that you're supposed to be providing to them. I mean, there is, you know, I think my point is sometimes as a municipality, as a city, we've got to increase our taxes in order to be able to Dave's point, be able to have some things that we need in the future, be able to fund those projects rather than having to go out, and try to get a grant or try to do this and try to pay interest. If we can fund some of these things, it seems like a better plan than necessarily having to go get a bond or a grant or something to be able to do some of these projects that are needed in the future. I think as we sit here in this role, we've got to think about the future and about how we're going to fund these things. And yeah, it's no fun to do this, but yet on the other hand, it's almost a necessity, right?
And
The other thought I had is,
go ahead.
no, I don't have the answer to this, but I thought, could we step into this? I mean, could we go 3% this year and 3% next year, or do we just bite the bullet, or, I mean, we don't have to go to 6%. I mean, we can go anywhere between, but you just bite the bullet and do it anyway, but I guess you could ease into it if you wanted to.
Well, I'm just switching, yeah, or, I mean, Ty, I imagine the option's always there to undo it or reduce, is that correct? Yeah, I mean, we can, if 6 didn't work for whatever reason, or I keep looking back to that capital project list, and that was well vetted, probably the most that it ever has been since we've been as a council, just a couple of months ago. Do we want those generators, buildings, all of the improvements that we're talking about? And I think the key is, we weren't going overboard in any of those. Those were projects that we felt were needed and necessary and of good benefit and a value for our dollar, a bang for our dollar. Okay, how are we going to fund it? Well, here's one component that helps fund that. So I think if we say, well, we don't need the 300, okay, let's pare down then the list and scale back.
And to your point, and you're the one that brings it up often, and it's a good point. You make mention that you don't have a problem sometimes if you can define what it is that money's going to go toward,
Mhm.
which is a good point. And certainly, I mean, we can certainly put that money towards something when you do look at that capital improvement plan. So
Yeah,
as long as I think that we're informed and we can say, well, we need this, we need this.
Here's where it's going, absolutely.
What we've done
Yeah.
with it.
I mean, there's a definite feeling out there that, let's give Ty another 300, and at the end of the year, it's filtered down in, just a maintenance or an operation is probably a better word. And what do we have to show for it? Well, nothing in particular. Here, we've got something in particular to
Right,
show for it.
something definite, you can say.
Yeah,
this is
something
what-
definite.
This is what we're doing this for.
Yeah, this,
And I'm with you. I don't have a problem if I can define that.
yeah.
But I
So
gotta be able to tell.
So the rate is probably maybe more a function of how quick do we want to fund that versus,
I'm not opposed to the 6%. I'm just saying that's some other options.
but I think that's a good point. So I look at it and say, okay, how much difference is there between a 4% and a 6%?
My
Monthly
case-
bill, maybe $1 or $2.
In my case, it'd be $60.
Yeah, so
3%.
and I was kind of the
$60 a year.
when we looked at,
Which would be, probably that would be ate up in if you maintained your property
Yeah,
tax rate, right?
Exactly.
we looked at recycling. There was I had some opposition on it to begin with. We get down to the bottom line and it's $5 a month. I can go along with that.
Yeah.
I'll accept that. Whether I like it or not, I'll accept that because, I understand why it needs to be too. Good discussion.
Great discussion.
Yeah, just just an update. Since we did the capital improvement list, one of the projects on there was the Fish Pond Park Trail. And as part of the 15, I think it was included in your $15 million
Yeah.
estimate.
Where's
And
that all
on
coming
the,
from?
on the list, it was estimated at $1 million when we got the engineer estimate back, and it's 2.5.
Yeah, go figure.
2.5 million.
Well, let's raise that rate to 12%.
But anyway, that's, I don't, and then the other, I guess the other point that I'd make is most of the revenue that we've generated as a city has gone towards matching.
Grant.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I really feel confident that we'll get a grant for that pond, but you have to have some match money.
Yeah, here's 300 that could go towards a match, isn't it?
Yeah, and the capital improvement fund is gonna really go down in the next budget year. That's my other concern, is because if we buy two properties,
Mhm.
we need the
$16.
property, right? But if we spend almost $2 million on properties, then that's really why I'm suggesting the 6%, is because I really don't feel like we're gonna be sitting on a,
A lot of excess.
yeah, and really, and it's okay, we'll get by. I just feel like, if we're not doing property tax this year, none of our utilities have an increase. We've done garbage, but I don't anticipate sewer, water. We're holding the line on our power rate. We have big projects in the power, but this will probably be the levelizing
Good point.
rate for the next several years. I don't anticipate.
Speaking of that,
The increases in others.
how's our generator project coming with Geneva? Is
It's awesome. It's
it coming along?
coming along, just waiting for the property. So,
And that'll pretty much pay the
So,
payment on the property,
on the project, but we need to,
on the project that they,
yeah. So the property will come out of the capital improvement, but the rest of the project will pay for itself.
yeah.
But the property is out of capital improvements.
so you wouldn't be remiss in saying we adopted a 6% met tax, and one of the purposes for it is to move this generator project along.
Could do. Yep, could do.
And that would make a ton.
That's
of-
why we prioritize the
Yeah, but
capital
that saves a
project
lot of money.
list.
What?
That can save a lot of money in the long run.
It really would.
If you can get away from those peak power demands and.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot to discuss.
Tell you what, let's get this. I'll do this.
Here we go.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we approve ordinance 25-08, an ordinance enacting Title 1, Chapter 1.24, Article 1.24E of the Morgan City Code, enacting the city's municipal energy sales and use tax for general fund revenue.
Mention the percentage.
Oh, with 6%. Thank you, Ty.
6% rate.
With the 6% rate.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ty.
Any more discussion? Okay, we have a motion from Eric, a second from Dave on ordinance 25-08. Jeffrey?
Aye.
Tony? Aye. Eric?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Janet, that's unanimous. Good discussion, gentlemen. Let's go to item E, adoption of the 2025 certified tax rate, resolution 25-10. Ty?
Well, somewhere in the packet, I did the typical, that page right there. So, basically, I'm just proposing that this year we adopt the certified tax rate. Here we are. The certified tax rate of 0.00 1297 with a revenue projection of $720,000. Last year's tax rate was 0.001345, so the rate comes down just a little bit. And if we kept the same rate, we'd have to do a truth and taxation hearing, and it would be a tax increase of 3.57%. So I would just recommend adopting the certified tax rate, and especially in light of the recent adoption of the MET tax.
I like that. I'd also add to that, Ty, looking back, this will be the lowest, if anybody asks, this will be the lowest tax rate we've had in 10 years.
Lowest mill levy, huh?
Yeah, that's good.
So we need we need a motion to approve of the certified tax rate.
Yeah, well, 2510 resolution.
Resolution 2510.
Yeah.
Approving the certified tax rate. I don't have it in front, I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 2510, adopting the 2025 certified tax rate and property tax revenue budget amounts for Morgan City.
I'll second that. Okay, we have a motion from Tony, a second from Eric to adopt resolution 25-10 on the certified tax rate. Dave?
Aye.
Yep. Eric?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous. Item F. Amending 1.15 consolidated fee schedule for building permits, ordinance 25-09. We talked about this one briefly in the work meeting. About a remodel on a basement.
It just increased it from $100 to $500, right, Ty? That's the only
Yep.
change on it.
Yeah, to cover inspection fees.
And I don't know if I can, how to say this, but is there a lot of them that don't even come in for a permit?
Yeah.
So that's actually, that was actually the rationale of leaving it so low
So encourage people to come in.
in the past, but really don't feel like that it's the dollar amount that's the barrier. The ones that are gonna be honest about it, or use a contractor. So if you use a contractor,
Part of the bid.
a licensed contractor will always get a building permit. So that's really not the issue, but for the ones we do get, we need to cover our costs in inspections.
So this is put row out for like if there's plumbing or if there's
Yep, electric,
electrical or,
plumbing, yep.
yeah.
Any changes to the bearing wall? All of that. Make sure that there's egress. So sometimes when people finish a basement that they don't have the adequate size windows. All of that, so, yep,
Electrical
Yep.
could be troublesome.
yep.
Good point. I'm thrilled to know that if you hire a contractor that he would get a permit.
Mhm.
Typically.
Okay.
Mayor,
Sure. Okay, Tony.
I am prepared to make a motion. I move that we adopt ordinance 25-09. It's an ordinance amending Title I, Chapter 1.15 of the Morgan City Code by amending fees of the consolidated fee schedule for basement finishes, residential, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and establishing an effective date immediately as demonstrated in, is there an attachment here? That shows the fee schedules. What
Yep.
what attachment is it?
Well, it's just
It's
underneath it.
below
It's
it.
just, okay, as
In packet.
indicated in our packet.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Tony, a second from Jeffrey, amending ordinance 25-09, consolidated fee schedule for building permits. Jeffrey,
Aye.
Tony,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Dave.
Aye.
Okay, Janet, that's unanimous.
Kind of a messy motion, but.
Worked good.
You got her. Got her done.
Okay, item G. Adopting final budget for Morgan City for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026. Resolution 25-1. Once again, this was discussed in work meeting. Is there any more discussion? Okay, turn it to Ty.
I'll make my public service announcement one more time, and that is, if anybody listens to these tapes, they may think that we're just blowing through these things rather quickly, but there's quite a lot of discussion on them, so I just always want to kind of point that out, so for the record.
Mayor, considering the previous adoptions of ordinances and resolutions affecting the budget, I'd move that we adopt resolution 25-11, adopting the 2025-26 fiscal year budget beginning July 1, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026 for Morgan City.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion from Dave to adopt resolution 25-1, a second from Tony. Dave?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Jeffrey?
Aye.
Hey, Janet, that's unanimous. Now help me go back to the public hearing.
Kind of have just already, well, to the item on the agenda regarding compensation, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Excuse me. You kind of just made the decision on it, according to the state code, and thank you, Dave. I think that was great, that you came up with that. Because that's exactly what the code says. It says before a governing body may adopt a final budget or a final amended budget that includes a compensation increase for the executive and municipal officers and governing body, the governing body shall hold a public hearing on the compensation increase. And then it's got notice requirements 7 days before the date of the public hearing. It has to be advertised. And then Class A notification is required on the state website and ours. And then it says that the public hearing shall be held separate from any other public hearing and may be held the same day as any other public hearing, including immediately before or after another public hearing. So it had to have been done before you just adopted the budget. And so the bottom line is there's no way you could have, because we didn't do the proper notice, we didn't do the proper 7-day notification. I missed that when I was looking through the items, but that's the bad news. The good news is that you can amend your budget. You can do a budget amendment, and I know the state auditors look at that and say you should do it at the very time that you're actually amending the budget and not at the end of the year, something like that. In other words, don't put the increase in place and then at the end of the year do one general amendment. But that you should do an amendment when the amendment takes place. And so what we could do is we could properly notice it and do the 7-day notice. We would have it as a separate hearing amongst our public hearings, and we could amend the budget at a future date, when either a month, next month.
Could you amend the budget at the same time as the public hearing?
You could, yes. Yeah, you can do the same thing. It would be essentially a final determination on a budget amendment is what it would be. Does that make sense to everybody? Or
Yeah, I
is
think
there a
in other words,
question?
we could correct the
correct it.
error next meeting.
The only thing I have is it's not gonna impact the budget.
Right,
So,
because the budget's.
One,
Have that
well,
built
in
in.
one way or the other, the budget includes a, a buffer that like all your salaries combined, we're talking like, hundreds of dollars
Right.
in an entire year. So it's not, we're not gonna
So,
need to amend the budget
Okay.
regardless of the public hearing. So you could just
Not
have the
gonna need
public
to-
hearing.
Need to amend the dollars in the budget.
Right.
because of it.
No.
So that said, could we get by with just the public hearing?
public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
We
Just
could
set,
do,
set it for a public hearing. The only concern I have is just that it says, let's see, it says before governing bodies shall adopt a final budget, that you have to do this thing. And then it says, or an amended budget. I think it makes a lot of sense that if it's already, if you've already got the amount in there, that you could just go back and do a public notice and a public hearing on it,
well, I think that, the
budget.
along that line, the intent of the public hearing would be to give the public a chance to comment on the increase.
And you could make a decision to or not. to.
Yeah, even though it may not be completely,
Yeah.
per,
In order.
in order, the intent would clearly be there. I think it would be hard to argue that,
Yeah.
because again, the budget has got that built into it.
The other thing is it was mentioned during the tentative budget. So when I proposed the tentative budget, it included the 2.5%. I mean, it was part of the discussion that 2.5% cost of living. So it's not that you went without it.
So let's
With
take it a
policy.
step further. Suppose there were public comment and the council decided to reduce the increase to say 2%. You're probably not gonna change the budget anyway. You can change, you can do the new ordinance. It says, okay, it's only 2 rather than 2.57, but you're not gonna change your budget.
I think we'd be fine to just go ahead with a public hearing.
Yeah.
Notice and
Yeah.
Next time.
show that it occurred.
That, again, the intent for the legislature was to say, and clearly timing's important for sure, and we'll remember next year. But the intent was to give the public an opportunity to chime in,
Yeah. So you're
ideally
not
ahead of
closing-
time.
You're
Yeah.
not closing until after
Yeah.
it's that you've heard from the public. I think that's.
Yeah, and it-
I remember the discussion on this one up on the hill. And it was, there was a city manager that was paid an extensive amount of money without any public.
Mhm.
I think it was St. George. Do you remember when the St. George city manager was let go? I think that raised some issues. It was,
Sure.
he received a
Remember
severance
when that
package that
happened,
was
yeah.
incredibly large, but then they went back and looked at the increases and said, well, when somebody receives that much in increases,
You gotta know.
you know,
about it.
the public ought to have input. But just as a cost of living is a little different.
Yeah, it's.
It was never, I don't think it was intended to, it was intended to give the public input, but not to change your budget. Right.
There are elected officials that make 6 figures
Yeah.
as well.
Mhm.
That's true.
So it's,
So would that be all right, Mayor and council?
yeah.
We did it that way.
Maybe a point of order is what do we do with this night on the agenda? Do
What
we
you do is
Table it?
table it until the next meeting and then we'll go ahead and do the proper advertising if that's okay.
I'm gonna say if this is the only item of business for the next meeting, I don't know that we need to meet just for this. Could it be a subsequent meeting?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we don't need a certain date then.
No, you just need to make sure the advertisement
Yeah.
goes out 7 days before. If that's okay.
So you need a motion to table item C.
Yes. To the next regular meeting.
Yeah, next regular meeting, perfect.
And then.
I'd
Janet,
move
is that
to do
all right?
that.
This is-
Move that we table ordinance 2507 to our next regular scheduled meeting. Ordinance to the city council of the city of Morgan, Utah, enacting compensation increases for specific officers.
Okay, we have a motion from Dave, and a second from Tony to table ordinance 25-07 until our next council meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. That okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Keeping us out of trouble.
I'll go to jail.
All the public's gonna be mad at us for that one.
Well, after all of them on the agenda, after he said that, I'm like, we just had a public hearing. And on, like, thinking that it was included. So we did have a barrage
It
of,
was an oversight. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
public hearings.
It's
And
oversight, that happens.
so,
Well, I'm thrilled. When I was going through this stuff, I was thinking we was gonna kiss the midnight hour. So I'm happy.
You run a tight ship, Steve.
There we go.
so we can do millions of dollars of decisions way faster than we can pick the number of chickens.
That's right.
We got our priorities straight, Di.
By the way, true statement. Planning meeting last week.
Yeah, was it really?
Oh, yeah.
Serious?
One of the items.
Uh,
How long did it
I
go?
heard a rooster in the city though,
I bet we
today.
Bet they talked about it for 20 or
I'll wait till we're off the meeting.
more than that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It got extensive. So let's go to city council reports, and some business, but I have one little comment. I was zooming on the WFRC and it's on transportation and the billions and billions of dollars that are being spent on the other side of the mountain on roads and increases in population, so they need to make a new exit or widen the streets, or it blew me away. And the money on the bottom of the canyon, when that finally gets going, is in the bees. But there's one thing that I got out of that is they had the mayor of Syracuse talking about growth, and Syracuse is growing pretty fast. He made a statement about building permits and the fees and everything, that the way they're calculating it, those only cover about 60% of the expense, and then the residents cover the other 40. And I don't know, I just wanted to make that comment is I just really struggle with new development and then having people that have had their souls worn out here on the sidewalks, that they have to cover expenses for it. So I just wanted to throw that out into our heads, that I don't know what you do, but I think we have some pretty big growth spurts that are on the horizon, and
Well, I guess that's the whole reason, but you have a pretty competent impact fee study, right, Gary? Is you're trying to calculate that growth and let the growth pay for those things that need to be done because of growth. You can't use impact fees for repairs and that type of thing, correct? But the whole idea is to have that growth pay for the growth, so.
Our impact fees are always a little bit behind because of the increase in cost of labor and materials, and we're still charging an impact fee from back here. And
so what's the move?
Keep them updated. Make sure we keep them updated. But it's interesting because our road impact, transportation impact, which is usually the biggest impact fee for municipality, for Layton, it's gigantic. But here it's very small because of the number of state highways that you have coming through, and that facilitate essentially as major arterials. And that's why it was hard to get most of the improvements are project improvements related to the projects that come in, which are driven by development. Very few anymore, you know, in Morgan are system improvements. So your impact fees, even though you keep them up, you're just not, you're not gonna collect that much in road impact fees.
On impact fees, can you use impact fees for replacement? I guess if part of that replacement is because of additional growth?
Only capacity.
Yeah, if you increase capacity beyond level of
Beyond
service,
But not maintenance.
maintenance, yeah.
Or repairs.
So at that point, the growth has become a citizen and are paying
They're supposed
property
to
tax.
Pay for it,
So,
the maintenance.
so it's supposed to be leveraged that way, but that's why our road impact fees are so small, is because our study said that we have adequate width. And because we don't have traffic lights and signals, to add capacity to our roads just requires a stoplight. Right? But we don't need to widen roads, because we could add a turn lane on most of our roads are wide. So we do use impact fees as much as we can. If you'd like, I could tell you how much we have in each impact fee
So let me,
balance if you want,
And you have to use them on a timely basis, right?
within 6 years. Yeah.
so we might not be in the same situation as Syracuse.
Well,
Hope not.
no, but we're using them. We're using them, and some of them are in the negative. So like in roads right now, we have $46,000 towards roads, which, how are you gonna widen a road?
Yeah, not a lot.
Right? So, but we've actually overspent. Water impact fees were $221,000 in the negative. So we had that water main project on 66, which was new capacity. And we used impact fees for that instead of the rates. And so we're in the negative, but our impact fees are being used. And the big concern at the state is that cities are collecting impact fees and not using them. So we're in the negative there, and then,
Impact fees will bring that back out.
yeah, yep, and the sewer impact fees are in the negative, $240,000. So we don't wait around to spend our impact fees. Electric impact fees are 182,000 in the positive. But to build that new plant, $182,000 isn't gonna,
Too far.
isn't gonna,
Kept just rate increases on sewer and water by using those impact fees.
yep, but we do our best to,
And they can be collected. Like you can, when we do our next impact fee studies, those deficits can actually be collected if they provide for future development. Like you're not just building capacity for what we have up till today. You're building it so that you've got future capacity as well for additional units.
You have to show that or prove that?
yeah, the study, yeah.
You just put that in the study. and then
shows
you
we're
can-
behind.
You can
Yeah.
begin to reimburse the city for money it has put out in that way.
Does the state,
Impact fee study that.
state limit the deficit?
Mm-mm.
You can go in as much as you want.
But I do that so I keep track of it. Instead of saying we're out of impact fees, let's put it on let's take it out of the operational budget, which is the ratepayer. Then those projects that are part of that
For growth.
study, then we use it. And if we redo a study like Gary said, then we'll just, that'll just add to the story of what we need to charge in impact fees. We just adopted an electric impact fee, so it's in the positive, but that project that we're talking about, the customer demand on that would pay a significant amount of impact fees. That project, just because their demand would be so high. So.
Okay. Any other discussion from the council?
I'll give a brief report, world in a minute kind of thing for the planning commission meeting that both Steve and Tony were part of.
The chickens.
That's one of the items. They had 3 items of discussion. First was a public hearing. There were no public comments on a change to our accessory dwelling unit land use chart. Just the zones, the tables, they updated those so that it expanded the zones where the ADUs are permitted. For example, we have R18 zones that needed to be allowed, even though we don't, they're grandfathered, if you will. We don't have those now, but they still need, it just cleaned that up a little bit. Item number 2 was a discussion amending the farm animals with regards to chickens. And I'm still not sure what the numbers are. You guys, if you want to chime in, go ahead. All I got out of is I'm not going to have chickens, but nonetheless, there's going to be a public hearing in July on that.
Yeah,
Really?
there was a table there, a
Yeah.
chicken table.
Yeah,
I think it was a Leighton chicken table. Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like it got a little bit complicated as far as I was concerned. And then item number 3 was a draft amending certain parts of the general plan. We've done some things. We've had work sessions, surveys on downtown land use, transportation, parks and trails. And rather than each one of those having their own plan, Jake has said, let's just change the general plan to incorporate all of those. We'll just have one plan. Looks like he expects to do that in the July and August meeting. So we'd have one comprehensive general plan versus standalone plans. The end.
And we learned though, that we can't have ducks.
The mayor brought up ducks. So the first, just to piggyback on what you said for just a minute, that Dave, so the R18, you mentioned the R18, they were not allowed the accessory dwelling units. But I guess one of the situations is that you may be in an R18 zone, but your lot may be
Yeah, half acre.
a half acre,
Yeah.
a third acre, or something like that. So technically it would have not allowed you to have had an accessory dwelling unit, but still you have a lot size, even though you're in that zone, you have a lot size that is compatible with an accessory dwelling unit.
So
So
we had,
I had not thought of that in the past, but it was.
no, and it
makes
just,
sense.
yeah, it was missed. So they're gonna, and that, we've had 3 zones, R18, RM7 and RM15.
Right.
Little effect.
And I believe it was Layton City's chicken policy that we went over.
No, I thought the ones that Jake presented were from Wellsville and someplace else. He said Layton's
You had 8,000.
didn't line up with us as much.
I would definitely look at much simpler. Just really simple. This many chickens.
They're a half acre.
Just keep them clean.
Well, they had,
For half acre.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. They were talking about points and different things like that. Like I say, it seemed too complicated to me,
Yeah.
but we'll see what they come up with.
And then you had to bring up ducks.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got to do ducks and then backed away
Like duck eggs. I don't.
from that.
There are people that do. Okay. Gary, you need to go?
Is that all right, or?
Yeah.
you done? Okay.
Get out of here.
Thanks very much.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Much appreciated.
Thank
guys.
you.
Yeah, appreciate your expertise and help tonight.
It's nice when you get help, buddy.
Yeah. Okay, good night.
Drive safe. Bye.
It's about time.
That's,
We do.
that's the Morgan look.
Yeah. We're impressed.
I told him, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I said, that tide doesn't fit
Yeah.
us.
It hasn't for 20 years.
Okay, Ty.
So, just a reminder that the UAMPS is having the member conference in Tahoe. It is a big discussion item. So one of the things on the agenda is having an all-in requirements project. So, it would be a project that functioned a little bit more like UMPA, which is in Utah County, where they're all in on every project.
They
and
meaning all the
all-
municipalities.
They all agree. Before they do a project, they all agree, but they don't go do their individual projects. And so if we join that project, then UAMPS will take the burden of our resource adequacy. So right now, it's hard to get projects done because all of the members are either in or they're out, or they're in and then they're out. And getting the subscription commitment makes it a little difficult, but there's such a need on resources as a whole group. They're talking about having a all-in requirement. So one of the things it does is it says UAMPS will make sure that our resources are met. But the other thing it does is it instead of coming back to council on every single project for approval, then the board decides. So
So what they don't want is another nuclear program that we just
well,
terminated.
one of the things that really happened is Logan. So we have two natural gas power projects that we're part of, right? That we need a peaking plant, we need a base load plant. Logan needs power in a very desperate way, and they were the tipping point on one of the power projects was gonna fail because Logan has a power board that didn't want to accept any non-renewable energy. So they need power like crazy, but their board just says you got to get it from wind and solar. And so that's how they voted. They voted out of the project. Well, a month later, that got reversed because they couldn't come up with where else are you going to get the power. But what it does is it puts those municipalities that have such a big power need in the hands of UAMPS. You just go in on a project. If the projects will,
They couldn't go in and out like Logan just did.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't leave it up to project by project. You either need the power or you don't need the power, but you sign up and it would just function as a all-in. And then we keep all of our own projects that we're currently a part of at what level. But it's a little, there's two sides to it, of course, but one of the nice things is we keep putting in on projects, but we don't put in on other projects because we're waiting to find out if the ones we put in 2 years ago were gonna happen or not. Because you can't have all the projects,
Yeah, you can pick them all.
and so it kind of gives UAMPS the support to really pick solid projects and know that so they would take everybody's need, say, we've got a need, say our need is a megawatt, and then they add up everybody else's, we would just be in that project for a megawatt because that's how much we need.
Doesn't that assume that they don't make mistakes though? I mean, could they err and cost all of us dearly?
No, the projects kind of work themselves out, so a bad project really never happens. When you're developing a project, if you don't have transmission or you don't get the permitting or there's air permitting problems or that we see more projects fail that we signed up for just because they're not very good projects. And
What would stop them from signing up and then it failing though?
that could still happen, but they're
Maybe with the bigger group, it's just like insurance. So you're spreading your risk.
Yep.
Yeah, that one project that fails is a lot less burdensome to that big group than it would be to Morgan City.
Yep. But we haven't been signing up for certain projects that we all really need because we don't get enough subscription because people are like, well, our eggs are in this basket and
do a little bit here and a little bit there.
a little bit there. And so anyway,
It's gaining some momentum, it sounds like.
yeah, but it'll be presented at that conference.
Okay.
So, then
To attend the conference, is there anything that, Mary and I would like to go, anything we need to be doing right now?
just need to register.
I need to register.
Yeah.
Okay. It seemed like the city, Lori's done that
We
in the
can,
past.
yeah, we can do that.
Or just tell me either way.
Well, you need to pick your rooms before you register actually, so there's a link on that email if you want to pick your own rooms, or we can just pick them for you, but.
I mean, it seems to make sense for you to do all of
Okay,
it. to
we'll
me.
do it. Yeah, sure.
Cause then we're consistent.
Yep, okay. Yeah, we'll do that.
In a tent, that's fine, you know?
Yep. So the only other, well, I have one update is that I'll be doing an update on Thursday. So I thought this meeting would be long too. I didn't want to take a lot of time, so I'll just do a email.
Okay.
And then last meeting, the weeds in front of the hotel were brought up, so I was just gonna report that those weeds have been knocked down, so
The owner did that.
the owner did that, yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Looks better.
Looks
Yeah.
better.
Looks better.
It is what it is. It's still dirt. But not 3 foot tall weeds, so. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Good report.
What about the 4th of July? Are you doing it without the city council this year?
No. Unless, if.
I-
Who wants to participate? That's a better question.
Well, they threw candy last year.
Um,
You're always on the fair parade float, aren't you?
Thank you.
Oh, Eric.
Eric.
With the
yeah.
livestock,
Yeah.
you'll be
I don't
gone.
want to ride no float.
I will not be here again. Are we having a meeting on the 8th?
We have to wait and look at agenda items.
Well,
You won't be here. Well, then we can't have a meeting without
so we
Tony.
can have a meeting.
But if there's the, if we're gonna sponsor the power department in the parade, so we have,
Shockers.
we have we have little lights, actually. We have like
Zappers.
little reading lights with Morgan City logo on them. They're pretty cool.
Shot.
Yep.
Keep kids off the road.
Yeah, back up.
Bug zapper.
And then we can do a mayor and council one separate unless you don't want to, and then we won't worry about it. We could just do the power department.
It seemed like you had a sign that would say mayor and.
We have that we can put on a
Yeah, I
truck.
would just put that on.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
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 Mayor, you wanna? So as long as, if you have one on each side of a truck, then we're good. All we need is two.
I mean, I've been in it 30 years. I don't know that one more makes any difference.
We don't wanna, you don't wanna stop now.
Why break a record?
Yeah. So it sounds like we have Jeffrey, are you?
My
in?
wife actually, I said, well, I don't know if we're doing another one. Yeah, I can be there.
Well, you're
Can do
my
it.
partner, Jeff. You gotta
Yeah,
be there.
Dave and I get my arm warmed up to throw out
Okay.
Well, you got a couple of good grandkids that help
80
you out.
pounds of candy.
You're the candy hackers.
Mayor, you're in?
Yeah.
You're good? Okay. Yeah, we have three, so that'll be
Right
good.
there, Tony. There are a million people.
You know, somebody was
It's-
commenting
you gotta-
about parades and I says, it is to me unbelievable how the parade on the 4th of July in Oregon, Utah.
We import, don't we?
I think people come from all
Yeah,
over
we
now.
import people up sporting.
It's like 6, 7 rows deep
Yeah.
there. It's
Yeah.
incredible. I don't know where people are coming from anyway.
There's a,
Jackson, Wyoming.
there's a software company that I've been exploring that keeps track of cell phone data
Uh-huh.
for economic development. And we looked at that one day and there was 11,000 unique new people that came to Morgan on the 4th of July.
Is that right? Whoa.
Are you kidding? I would believe that.
Oh, it's incredible.
It is.
Is that?
So,
I would
Three
love to
times
see
the
that data on the business trick or treat too.
yeah, you can pick. You can,
Right?
but anyway, it's pretty cool software. Just gives you information about yourselves. So anyway.
Okay, well, thanks again, everybody, and this meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, my battery's about dead, so.
Wow.
Have you ever been to South Erickson?
Yeah, look at that, 9 o'clock, Eric.
Well, gentlemen, I'm gonna take July off.
Yeah,
Let's
do it.
Pop into Smith.
Good, we don't have to meet
The
yet.
trails have the starts there.
Yeah, how, what's, I've been in the horses to.
Yeah, you had your hands full up to now.
The north and south.
Well, that's how.
I'm glad we're not doing citizen taxation because it always
Yeah,
prolongs the.
yeah.
Well, the thing about the budget that I do remember is we would start back in April, May.
My kids have been asking me, where are we going on a pack trip? I said, I'll tell you what, you get the horse and shoot, you get my horse saddle, you get dinner ready.
I'm
You know where we're going.
Don,